Hello painters, welcome to my watercolour painting channel. Over the next few videos I'm going to touch on various aspects of colour harmony. In this video I'm going to look at complementary colours. I've made a colour wheel here with my watercolours. Did you know that the colour wheel was invented by Isaac Newton in 1666? He did a great job because it is such a useful tool for artists. You can use the colour wheel to find lovely colour harmonies by using various colour combinations. Complementary colours actually sit opposite each other on the colour wheel. So we have blue, we have orange, we have red and green, yellow and violet, and all the other combinations as well. Now, I just want to show you a couple of examples. I have used blue and orange in this painting, and the orange is the brighter colour. Good idea is to choose one of them to be more dominant. And by dominant, I mean bright with strong hue, and the other to be more muted. Then I've done a little study here with elephants, and I just used yellow and violet. And I've created the greys and all sorts of things with those two colours. Another little aspect of complementary colours that we will touch on in another video is when you mix two complementaries together, you neutralise the colours and you get greys. So you can get some beautiful greys. We will deal with that in another video. I'm going to use the two complementary colours, red and green, in my demo, and of course tomatoes are ideal for this. Lovely red skins and their green stalks. And I've positioned my tomatoes on a table in front of the window. In this video I'm going to be using my lovely Vinci Squirrel mops number 3 and number 1. I'm going to use Bockingford paper to paint on, and these are the colours I'm going to be using. Aureolin, it's a Daniel Smith, and that's my only yellow. I'm going to use two blues, a warm blue and a cool blue, French Ultramarine and Cobalt blue. And I'm using two reds, Pyrrol Scarlet, which is a lovely bright pillar box red, and permanent Carmine. Starting off, I'm going to paint the window frame and windowsill, but very muted without too many hard lines there. And then I'm going to leave quite a lot of the paper actually white. There's lovely sunlight coming through the window and shining on the white tablecloth, so I'm actually going to leave those as white paper. This tomato is the more distant tomato, so I want to soften the edges into the shadow and into the background there, and there's a lovely little bit of highlight that I'm leaving on the tip. Now I'm just painting around the actual stalks for the moment, just doing a little bit of negative painting, softening the edge there as I come back. And there's the other window side of the window frame, which is positioned nicely for that second tomato because there's a lovely bit of light on the top of it. I'm mixing the blue and yellow into that colour, that muted colour at the background. I want that to be quite soft. Oops, just dropped a bit. I wanted that nice little crack of light there. Never mind. A little bit more red to it. Now this is the sort of the feature tomatoes, the tomato that's closest to us, and I'm just doing the first layer. I'm actually going to paint these tomatoes in 3 layers. So I'm putting on Pyrrol Scarlet, which is lovely pillar box red to start with, just to get a local bit of colour. And I'm taking it through into that other tomato next to it, and there's a few bits of light on the greenery, so I'm going to try and leave some of that. And then I must just soften underneath where the shadow is coming through. It's important to observe which direction your shadows are facing. The light is sending them in a fan-like sort of image there, which I love. The one on the right, the shadow is going off to the right, and the one on the left, the shadow is going off to the left. It's because the light that's coming through the window. I'm just softening some edges here now. I don't want too many hard edges where the colour hits the light area. Softening those as well. Adding a little bit more darker colour into that background while it's still wet. I can see it because it's glistening, so I can add more colour to it, drop in the colour. I want a nice hard edge against that top of the tomato there, where the light hits the shadow part of the window frame. And I think that's about it for this layer. I think I'll let this dry. My first layer is dry, and I'm now coming to paint the stalks. So I'm using two blues here. I'm using a cobalt blue and a French ultramarine and the Aureolin to create my greens. I'm using the back of my brush, and it's not sharp, it's just a funny rounded thing, but it actually works very well to create some interesting lines on the edges of the stalks. I use this for trees as well, which is great. Here I go again. So I create this basic green colour, and then I'm going to drop in some French ultramarine into the wet paint to darken the bits here and there. Not all of it, I want a contrast. There we go. These are such fun to paint. Such interesting shapes. There we go. Now while they're still wet, I want to create a shadow area on my tomato using my permanent Carmine, and I think I'm using cobalt blue there to create a sort of purple area, dark area of the shadow. I want the green to merge into the red, the green of the stalk into the red of the tomato. Now I've got to soften the edges because I don't want the shadow to go all the way to the edge of each side of the tomato, because I'm going to come along with another layer of the Pyrrol Scarlet when it's dry. So here I'm establishing the sort of dark area of the tomato and letting it run into the shadow underneath. Now my stalks are still wet, so I can hopefully merge those into the part of the tomato as well. Soften that there. I'm just letting it was pooling in one little area there. Sometimes the paper buckles a little bit and it pools, so then just lift it up and let it to run over the painted area. Now I'm painting this other tomato on the left hand side, and there's quite a shadow there, and there's a contrast between the middle tomato and the left hand tomato, and I want to maintain that. Dropping in some French ultramarine still into that wet area of the stalks. So there's no hard line between the stalk and the tomato because it's in the shadow. If you have a look, there's no hard lines there. To fix up a few little bits in here and there, and I'm just about finished. I want to then put a glaze of the Pyrrol Scarlet on the middle tomato and the left tomato. There wasn't dark enough on the other side of that, so I just need to sort that out. Right, let's put some of that lovely Pyrrol Scarlet as a glaze. Gorgeous colour this. Ooh. Right, now I'm going to come right over there. I don't want a hard line or crunchy lines, so I'm bringing it over into the other tomatoes, so it just creates a beautiful transition from the one to the other. And then I need to also wet underneath. That's right. Just to mute it, soften it a bit. Look how that just shines, it's gorgeous. And then the shadow area shines through from the second layer. I'm not going to touch that far right tomato because I want to make it look as if it's slightly in the distance, sort of further away. I want the eye to be drawn to this central tomato. I think that's just about it. Here is my completed painting featuring the complementary colours of red and green. Hope you enjoyed it.